The Tribal Data Toolbox 3.1 has some excellent new features that I'm going to show you. This is the splash screen of the toolbox. We are going to review our data, so we click Final Data Validation because we had a temp working who did not do the final data validation, which probably was appropriate. We're going to look at Site 1, and this automatically populates with whatever samplers you've got at Site 1. And that's PM 2.5 continuous, and you can see right now that we have a situation where probably that's an error. And when we imported the data, the toolbox automatically flags data as you import it, depending upon whether you set it to flag, and that is not invalidation, but it's just flagging it so that it can help you find it later, and it in this graph shows up as yellow points. So clearly we've got an issue. And we've got some other data around here. So let's take a look at specifically the data between 5:17 and 6:26 or so. So the thing to do here is click here and just start typing in, and the toolbox will automatically auto-populate depending upon what numbers you put in there to start off. And then let's look at going through 6:26 or so, and then that zooms in a little bit more on our graph. We see there's clearly a problem on 6:13. So we need to invalidate that one, and we need to look in more detail at these right here. So let's click View All Data and manually add flags to invalidate. And what that does is it pulls up the data in spreadsheet format, all the data, but the rows that have already been flagged during the import process are already shown in yellow. And we can see that the technician did assign an AQS null value code of miscellaneous void for one of these 985 micrograms per cubic meter values, and the flag that the toolbox assigned to make this row yellow in this form was HD30, which means that when the tech imported the data, she specified that any hour that varies more than 30 parts per billion from the previous hour should get an HD30 flag. And that just helps us find it later, like we're doing months later when we have to go back and generate a set of valid data and then AQS codes. So we're going to go ahead and assign null value codes to these other ones, and I'm not sure about those. We're going to leave those as they are right now, and this one also we're going to leave this as it is right now. Let's just scroll down and see if there's any other values that are yellow, and we do see some values here. We're going to sort this so we could see the data, and we've got right here we've got some values where the fluctuation went from 11 to 54 at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of a high change, especially for that time of day. And then it went down again to 16. So that's why those were flagged. And that's around 5:18. So let's take a look at 5:18 between 9 and 11 o'clock in the morning and see if we've got data to support this spike of 54 micrograms per cubic meter that went down again right away. So we're going to look at 5:18 in the morning. What we're going to do now is we are going to exit this form, and let's see if we've got data to support that spike. So we're going to see if we have met data. And this form then automatically populates with the range available. And what we're going to look at is we're looking at PM 2.5 now. So wind speed might be important. So let's select the data just around 5:18. And let's look at 5:18 through 5:19. And let's look at concentration versus wind speed. Here we can see that we do have wind speed that supports that 5:18 spike, which is excellent. So we are not going to invalidate that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to save it as a PDF, and I'm going to keep it in my data validation materials so that I have a record that I checked this value. Close print preview, and we're going to keep that data as valid. We're going to now look closely around this date, 5/18, and we're going to go through 6/26. We decided we're going to keep that as valid on 5/18, so now we can go ahead and look at the other values, but you could see if we've already taken care of that 985. So now let me show you how to generate an AQS formatted file from this data that we just reviewed. AQS data file creation. We have a lot of different samplers in here. This only shows the samplers that you have, which in most cases will be 2 or 3. And we're looking at everything from January 1st through 12/31 through 12/31, and you can select either pipe delimited or XML format. It doesn't matter. AQS takes both and will continue to take both. We could inspect the data just to make sure that we are looking at the data that we want to look at, and what's nice about this is then it allows you to look at the data in spreadsheet format, and it tells you if you have any concentrations exceeding the sampler's guidelines in AQS that haven't been invalidated, and if you've got any values that are more than 3 sample standard deviations from the average, just to make sure that you know that they're there. We've already looked at the data, we've determined it's fine. If you want to click here in spreadsheet format, what's great about that is then you can sort it and you can look and see what data has been invalidated and with what codes. So we are already confident about that. I'm going to click the lower X, and then I'm going to say create AQS raw data file, and it tells you that it's created it and asks you where you'd like to save it. And now we can look at it, and you can see the most beautiful site in the world. And if at any point you say, oh gee, I selected the wrong method codes, you could just go back in and make sure that you use the right method codes, add them, and generate this file, any beginning and end date, and any of the methods that you have already in the toolbox. Now you can also create QA formatted files, the results of your flow rate checks and any external audits. You have to enter that into the toolbox, of course, but once you've done that, you can produce an AQS formatted file for your QA data as well.